It's Miro Day. Oh, formerly Rusev in WWE. He just debuted in AEW. I'm Mr. Davis, your Jam That Champion, dropping that, it's too heavy. And I'm joined by Corporate Shopper to talk about last night's episode of AEW Dynamite, where the big news coming out of it is that Kip Sabian, who said on All Out that he's going to unveil his best man for his wedding to Penelope Ford on Wednesday's Dynamite, he came out, he brought out a few people, brought out like a sort of joke guy called Ruff, I think his name was. Puff?
Something like that.
He came out, and then Brian Pillman Jr. came out, and Kip was like, whoa, I said no. I said, you're the best, man. You're not the best, man. I don't like you. So that was funny. It was good comedy stuff. Kip Sabian's really good. But then he said, no, here's the best man. And who should walk out of the bloody babyface entrance? I think it was the babyface entrance. But Miro, Twitch's own Miro, also kind of known for his time in WWE. So weird storyline to debut in. A strange, I guess not a strange time because it's post All Out. This whole episode, this whole next couple of months is like the new season of AEW. Here's a few new characters. Here's a few new directions for people, new feuds, new storylines. And this is one of them. It's Rusev coming over to AEW in what seems to be a lower mid-card story.
Yeah, it's a bit of a strange debut. But I really enjoyed seeing him for starters. Just he, like you mentioned in your edited review, he's got such an infectious personality, and him coming out, he was beaming from ear to ear. People started chanting Miro Day, and he was like egging him on doing it. I was like, man, it's just really good to see you. Rusev was one of my favorite wrestlers in WWE. I loved him so much. I thought he was so underused, and I was always one of the guys being like, please push Rusev, he's really great. So seeing Miro now in AEW, I really hope he gets something good. The best man seems to be his name in AEW. He is the best man, Miro. That's not just like, he's not just Kip Sabian's best man, because like the best man was on like the Titantron and things like that, which I think is an okay wrestling nickname. That's okay. The best man, Miro. That's fine. Debuting him as an actual best man, though, to Kip Sabian, I don't know how I feel about that. I feel like it's not retreading of old ground, because I don't think they're going to do the Lana wedding again somehow. I think they were openly poking fun at that sort of angle. I don't think they're going to replicate those sort of mistakes. But I do wonder where it's going to be going with him doing that, because Kip Sabian, as much as I love him, he's not been presented all that well on Dynamite, and him being the best man to him feels a bit lower than he should be. And as someone who's been brought in to be like, F you WWE, I'm now in the better wrestling company, I'm going to be treated properly and all that stuff, and for him to debut as this kind of mid to lower mid card act feels a bit of more samey position of where he was in WWE, which feels a bit off.
Yeah, I agree. I think overall, the big thing to take away, folks, and us, these are our feelings. I'm pretty sure I'm speaking for you as well, Chops, in that we're so happy that Rusev, Miro now, going to have to get used to that, is back into wrestling. He said just last month that he's retired. He's just going to focus on being a content creator on YouTube and Twitch now, which was, I kind of believed him. Because he didn't show up at Slammiversary, he didn't show up at All Out in the Casino Battle Royale. Maybe he's quite content to just sit back and play his video games because he seems to be very good at that and enjoying it a lot. And you know, it's a new outlet for his creativity. So I'm really, really happy that Miro is in AEW. And as soon as he walked out there, like you said, you can't unlike the guy. It's crazy to think that he used to be this Russian, Bulgarian brute monster character. You know, before he started cracking the smile and doing all the little funny jokes, he was this kind of, not generic because he did it really well, but a foreign heel. That was his role. But he's actually so much more than that. I'm not sure how the sort of bleached head, short hair cropped on top, the look that is. But it was so nice to see him. And it was like an instant connection. I'm into him as a babyface. But yeah, it is weird that they've debuted him in this way. My only thought is that it's going to be something that resolves itself quite quickly. You know, this is like Rusev's introductory story. He'll turn on Kip Sabian in a babyface manner a few weeks in and then go on to something else. It's odd because there were so many creative things you could do for when Miro eventually turns up somewhere. We were sort of fantasy booking last week that you'd hear the and you bring him in with Aiden English. I know that is retreading old stuff, but they were a hugely popular act. That there are, of all the things to retread from WWE, I would not be against that pairing. But yeah, this definitely felt more on the Matt Cardona scale of defections than the Brodie Lee side, which got video packages, a months-long storyline, his own faction. This is essentially playing second fiddle to an undercard guy. But that might be the point. It might be a Diesel scenario or a Drew McIntyre scenario, to use a more up-to-date Dogs of War reference.
Yeah, and hopefully it doesn't take quite as long as Drew McIntyre with the Dogs of War and all that stuff, because that was about 2 years being kind of second fiddle to someone else before he came out on top. So hopefully Miro can just kind of shed, not that Kip Sabian's bad by any means, but I do feel like him debuting in this way, he should be treated as a proper threat, a proper guy to go there, and not just like a comedy act. Although I'm sure he would be great at comedy. I think he's probably going to be more inclined to be a bit more of a serious wrestler, especially because he came out and he cut quite a serious line towards WWE saying, you can take that brass ring and you can shove it up your ass, as him just saying, screw you, I'm in a better wrestling company now. My name's Miro, I'm all elite. So it seems like he's taking it seriously. He's not just there to mess around the whole time and be handsome. He's so handsome. Yes. I'm quietly, hopefully optimistic. God, my brain. I'm quietly optimistic that this will just be a short-time thing. He'll kind of shed the weight of Kip Sabian. That sounds really mean to Kip Sabian, and I don't mean it to be. But then he can go on to bigger and better things, because I think this is quite a low to mid card story, and I don't want him to be hanging around there for too long.
But hey, trust in AEW at the same time. That there is definitely a reality where a Miro, Kip Sabian, Penelope Ford faction is amazing.
Totally, yeah.
Kip Sabian and Penelope Ford are fantastic. Miro is fantastic. Maybe this is just like an odd couple group that we never knew we wanted. They're all talented, creative people. I'm sure they can get themselves over. I
mean, just like Aiden English and Rusev. That was a pairing that they just put together and just worked.
Whoa, I didn't even... my mind was so hung up on the wedding parallels with WWE. I didn't actually see the other parallel of Rusev... Miro is now the Aiden English here to Kip Sabian and Penelope Ford's marriage.
Yeah.
But yeah, let's see what you guys think, because I'm keen to get other people's takes on it, because obviously everyone's been very positive online. That's been the overwhelming thing. But I just want to get into if people actually thought this was a good debut instead of like, oh yeah, it's Rusev. Gorilla Press, good day, Corporate Chopper. Mr. Davis, a quick note before you get into everything. Miro's debut was botched. A cheap shot for a cheap pop. He deserves better.
I've seen people say that. A lot of people have been like, all the WWE guys that are coming in, they all say the same thing. I'm so glad to be out of WWE, and WWE sucks, and now I'm in AEW. And yeah, I can see that. I'm hoping that Miro doesn't do that too much. I'm hoping that this is just like, right, I'm here. Screw you, WWE. I'm AEW now. Let's go AEW from here. And it's not like a continual thing. I feel like Brodie Lee might have overstepped the mark with all of his Vince McMahon jabs that he did all the time, maybe. I don't know, but we'll see.
Mafia homages, I think you mean.
Sorry,
Mafia.
Yes. I mean, he did admit last week that he was taking jabs at Vince McMahon, so...
How dare he? Mr. McMahon's a visionary. It's an interesting one, because for us, we've now seen this narrative and shoot WWE promo play out multiple times. But for the wrestlers who've actually been there and endured that creatively stifling atmosphere for years and years and years, this is their out. This is like their one chance to vent that. So I do empathize with them wanting to say this. And, 2010 Ollie is kicking 2020 Mr. Davis, who just lived for ex-WWE stars turning up on TNA and saying, WWE's crap. Alexis Ebden, best Wednesday debut, Mr. WrestleTalk or Miro. Also, I really want to see Miro Sabian tag team Super Twitch squad. Just let's get into that now. We'll talk about it a bit after the rest of the Miro related chat. Mr. WrestleTalk made his debut on last night's Quizzlemania, only went and won the bloody thing. What a guy. And he'll be taking over Chopper Pete's stuff next week. So he'll be doing the AEW and Raw review with me.
Yeah. I mean, he's. I'm sure he was great on Quizlemania. Just a quick one though, Mr. Davis. You do know that that's Luke, right?
Miro.
No. Mr. WrestleTalk is Luke.
I explicitly asked him on the stream because a few of the chats were saying, like one super chat said that, and he said it wasn't. And then I looked at his Twitter, and in the bio for Mr. WrestleTalk's Twitter, it says 100% not Luke. So,
I mean, I'll trust your judgment on this one, Mr. Davis. But yeah, I'm withholding judgment for now.
You've got nothing to worry about. Honestly, I don't know if you saw it last night, but even though I lost, I'm still reigning Quizzlemania tag team champion, of course. Even though I lost that one, I was like, I don't even mind because this Mr. WrestleTalk guy is so nice. He's so funny. He's so affable. He's so smart. He's so handsome. He looks like Repo Man that I didn't mind. What I was more taken away from it was, have I got a new best friend? I feel like I've known him forever. I feel like we've gone through loads of stuff already. I just got that instant chemistry. Instant. Bacon Rasher says, hi lads, what a debut, gimmick and promo from Miro. Do you think he looks a bit like Rusev, who left that other company? Wink, wink. More than what people were saying about Mr. WrestleTalk looking like Luke. See? Bacon Rasher knows. Hashtag and is JTJ.
Yeah. He does look like Rusev, yeah, shockingly. So.
But that's one so far for a good Miro debut
and
one against. Let's keep count of these. Valid Mamadipudi. Who is Rusev? There is only Miro. That aside, this was a great episode to get that new viewer to watch AEW.
Very much felt like a reset after a big show. Kind of like, not on the same scale, but like a night after WrestleMania, night after SummerSlam kind of thing. Here's a couple new characters, here's some new stories, off you go.
What a night after WrestleMania should be. Because in practice, a night after WrestleMania are the same matches we got at WrestleMania.
You know what? You're not wrong. For the last few years, yes.
That's what wrestling should be, I think. Sawyer, I was hoping Miro would end the promo by super kicking Kip, but hopefully that happens at the wedding, coincidentally on Miro Day, because I want him to be a babyface.
It very much felt like a babyface debut, and Kip was also there. And, connection with the fans, he was smiling a lot. So it wasn't like, oh, you people or anything like that. So hopefully he is a babyface. And yeah, I could see him ruining the wedding in a babyface manner. And then he's Miro from there on out.
Anthony Pride, I want to see Miro Allen versus Cage Starks match. Oh, yes, please.
Yeah, actually, that sounds really, really fun. Like, you're getting the beefcake off of Miro and Cage. Oof. Sounds spicy. Love that.
Paul Kerr, remember you didn't rate the Inner Circle originally, Ollie? I trust it. Miro looks in great shape. Woke the kids shouting no effing way at the TV.
Yeah, he's looked in great shape for quite a while now. For maybe like a year, he looks in great shape. So yeah.
I stand by that though. Like the Inner Circle's debut at the end of the first episode of Dynamite isn't great. You know, it's Jack Swagger joining a bunch of random people with Jericho. That went on to be something absolutely fantastic, and they made it really work. But it wasn't even AEW's own first choice. It was technically their third choice, because first of all, they wanted Gallows, Anderson, and AJ Styles jump in the barricade. Then it just went down to Gallows and Anderson, but they re-signed as well. So they went with Jack Swagger.
Yay.
who has been really good. I love the Inner Circle, but just for that first episode of a new promotion. Speaking of Chris Jericho, that's how this episode began, in just a terrific cold open. And it was so much of this episode was masterfully produced in a way to be that soft reset post pay-per-view show. And this was a huge part of it. And it has Chris Jericho and MJF coming up to Tony Schiavone. They both pull up in their cars and they go up to one another and they just talk back and forth about how, they really respect each other. They're both going to go for the AEW World title. Just that they complained about losing to their respective Orange Cassidy and Jon Moxley. And then they both turn away from each other after respectfully bumping elbows. Really, really seemed like a genuine interaction. They're walking off. The camera does a split screen like me and Chops are now. And they both mutter under their breath, "What a loser."
It's really good. It fits both their characters so perfectly for them to play up other people, but secretly call them a loser because they think they're better. It's perfect. It was funny. It put over both their characters. It was like a bit of a soft reset from All Out. It was good. It was a perfect way to open the show.
I really like MJF versus Jericho does have context as well. There was a bit when Jericho offered MJF a t-shirt to join the Inner Circle when he first turned on Cody, but MJF said no. So a heel versus heel feud, or at least matchup, I never knew I wanted. Well done. The opening match had everyone already in the ring, so no entrances. Lucha Bros versus Jurassic Express. So we're going to start the show at 11.
This was really fun, wasn't it? Oh boy. As I mentioned last week when it was Young Bucks versus Jurassic Express, All Out for Young Bucks Jurassic Express, all four of these guys are so good. They're brilliant. They're really great sequences. The only thing that I wasn't a fan of was the Penta and Phoenix dissension that happened in the match. But the match itself was really, really fun. It just kind of got towards the end. There was a little bit of tension between the two. Jungle Boy reversed Phoenix and threw him at Pentagon, who still hit a destroyer on him. It's like, maybe you could stop, not hit the move on him, but hey-ho. Wrestling logic.
The momentum. The momentum's already there.
Destroyer.
You try doing it, Pete. You try getting in that ring and not hitting a Canadian destroyer on someone. Then Jungle Boy rolls up Phoenix and gets the win. They start arguing between each other after the match, and Eddie Kingston has to come out and try and force them to stop arguing as part of the death pentagon that he's got. Which, again, Eddie Kingston, great promo. And like you mentioned in your review, I really hope this is just putting over how good of a leader Eddie is, rather than any sort of long-term dissension between them, because they're all really good and they only just got together. So I think they should play out a bit more, have them be a strong unit, and have them come together properly now. Totally agree. Eddie's promo was masterful. Like, he's just getting over all of these little points, huge storyline points that would sound like clunky exposition anywhere else. But he's like, your wife's not with you at the moment. Talking to Blade about Ali, who's, weirdly doing another storyline where she's involved with QT Marshall. So that is a bit weird. But then he's like, Pac's over in England, so you've got nothing. And then at the end, he just drops a little mic thing and says, "Oh, and I was never eliminated at the Casino Battle Royale." So I hope that plays into something.
That would be good, yeah. They seem to be putting a lot of responsibility with Eddie Kingston. He seems to be quite like an important figure on the roster right now. So I'm hoping that, they continue that story on.
After that, we got Jake the Snake and Lance Archer kind of a pretty decent promo on Jon Moxley. Really nice setting. It was raining. They captured that really, it was shot really beautifully. Like, if you just looked at the image, you'd be like, I want to see this 80s post-apocalyptic punk movie. And then later on, Moxley got his own promo in a corridor. Nothing like crazy notable, but just very, very solid promos from both guys who are heading to a collision on October 15th, I believe it is. Something
like that, yeah. Should be good.
So you'd assume Moxley Archer isn't the Full Gear title match. Because Full Gear is 9th of November.
That's right, yeah. Which is interesting. I don't know who they have in mind for the other shot, or whether they're going to extend the Archer feud out. Historically speaking, from AEW, they probably won't. They probably just do the one and done title shots. But I don't know. I don't know who I'd like to see instead.
Pentagon. Matt Hardy
Obviously.
then came out and said, I really like this. There wasn't an angle. There wasn't any interruptions. They didn't try to swerve it in the storyline. Matt Hardy came out and said, I was stupid. I put my family through something they shouldn't have had to go through. I made all the fans feel really uncomfortable. They didn't say it kind of ruined a lot of the result in pay-per-view, but that was unsaid. This was Matt Hardy and AEW saying we got it wrong, and they didn't pro wrestling it. I really appreciated this. I don't know. I really believed Matt. And Reby Hardy was shown near the ring with Baby Max. No, Wolfgang now, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
If I'm Tony Khan, I am just avoiding her backstage.
Shit, yeah. Oh man. But yeah, I thought this was a great apology. It's a great way they did it. And Matt Hardy said, I'm glad that this thing with Sammy Guevara is done now. I'm sorry that the Broken Rules match wasn't what I wanted it to be, but I'm glad it's done, because if we'd have carried it on, someone would have got really seriously hurt. Which is him basically saying, I'm glad we called the match and went straight to the finish. And at least they, all the controversy aside from that match, I'm glad that they had a finish so they can say that this feud is done. So then they don't have to have another match later on to risk someone else getting injured again and things like that. So yeah, hopefully both can just move on now.
Yeah, really, really well done. Also, Matt did say that he's going to go for the AEW title at one point.
I believe he said he's going to go for a AEW title at some point. He wants gold at some point, I believe.
Then we got Orange Cassidy pretty much squashing Angelico. I forgot because I don't watch Dark that much. The Hybrid 2, Angelico and Jack Evans. Fantastic tag team. And Angelico is an amazing high flyer. I forgot they're on the roster. This is just a credit to their, the depth of talent they have there. But Orange Cassidy pretty much squashed him, and this wasn't the Cassidy of old. He still did a few, I'm just going to sit down rather than properly reverse a charge into the corner. But no, he was putting an effort from the get-go.
Yeah, it seems like Orange Cassidy now is a wrestler on the roster. He's a guy who can go out and have a very good match. Which he is a very good wrestler. I'm not going to take that away from him. I feel like this kind of turn in his character, for me anyway, probably should have been done a little bit later down the line. It's been less than a year since he's been in AEW, really. So maybe it was a bit quick. I feel like they could have got more out of the I'm half-hearted gimmick before now he's kind of a wrestler. I feel like it'd be weird to go back to him being the half-assed kind of guy now. But he's still a great wrestler, so he should be putting on some great matches.
I think you can storyline him going back to not caring. I think a crisis of confidence, a few losses. Plus, his previous act doesn't really work when there aren't that many fans around. So I think it's a wise decision to do that. I don't feel like it's too early personally. Plus, it's very rare you see this sustained in wrestling, although you see it a lot in AEW, actually. And that is proper character development. Orange Cassidy had a feud with someone, a 2-3 month feud, and he has come out of that a changed wrestler. He wrestles in a different style. He puts in more effort. He's a new character. He has progressed. So I applaud that wholeheartedly. I thought that was great. Santana and Ortiz attacked him afterwards. Best friends ran down to stop that, and they're getting a street fight next week, which will be insane.
Yeah, no doubt. I'm quite excited for that one. I think it's going to be really good, and hopefully this will be a blow off to their mini feud that they've been having around Trent's mum, and then they can again both move on to bigger and better things because both of the teams are really good.
Bigger and better things like an interview with Louis Dangoor on Wrestle 2. Santana and Ortiz are going to be talking to Louis in 2 weeks' time. Well, it's actually later today, I think, that they're having their interview. But we'll put it up soon. So go over to Wrestle 2 and subscribe to know when that goes live. Should be a really good chat because apparently Ortiz likes us. Ortiz watches us. After that, we got Alex Marvez. knocking on the Young Bucks door backstage to get an explanation of what's happening with the Elite. Are they broken up? What's going on with Kenny Omega, Hangman Page? The Bucks open the door and super kick him. When that happened, I was like, oh my God, that's a big deal. A non-wrestling talent has been assaulted. If that's a referee, if that was Tony Schiavone, if that was Excalibur, huge deal. You know, they'll play that up for segments. Fines will be had. Loads of referees will be separating. That the babyface roster will come to Marvez's aid. Instead of that, it just cuts to the commentary team and they go, wow, Bucks aren't happy, are they?
That's the one thing I really don't like about this Elite story, is that it feels like all the really big moments from it, the commentary don't care about, which are still amazingly done, amazingly shot, amazingly framed. The performances are fantastic. It just feels like the commentary are just like, wow. It's like at All Out, the moment when Page drops down to the floor and Omega doesn't catch him and steps backwards from him. That's a huge moment. That's the moment where Omega turned on him. The commentary are like, man, I think he almost didn't catch him there. It's like, come on, guys, put it over a bit more. But that said, love this because the Bucks didn't say a word. Super kicked him and then just looked quite angry and then slammed the door. I'm very curious to see where that's going. I'm excited for this because it's still going.
It was later confirmed that they're going to be fined $5,000 each. And no one really cared about that either. I just thought that's a big angle to potentially give a lot of heat to people.
And we got the announcement that they're going to be fined $5,000 during the women's match, of course. Because when else would you do it?
Yeah, you want to wait till nothing's going on, don't you?
Yeah.
Then we got the Kip Sabian Miro reveal. A great backstage interview that had happened earlier, a pre-tape with Tony Schiavone and Hangman Page. Hangman Page just looks dejected. He's blaming himself for all of this. Just an incredibly well-portrayed character and his plight. When, he's just so self-destructive. And now he's properly self-destructed in that he's driven away all his friends, be it whether that's his fault or not. The only thing he's got left to destruct now is himself. So he's going to start blaming himself. Oh, yeah. Beautiful.
I didn't think that Adam Page was an amazing promo. I thought that his character work, his facial expressions, and the way he moved around the ring and stuff and told a story through physicality was amazing. I didn't think his promo was amazing until this week. And I was like, my God, that's an amazing promo. It felt so natural, his performance, and him just saying look, I know we're all flesh and blood and all that stuff deep down, but the way I see it, I'm just full poison. I was like,
oh
my God.
That poison line was incredible.
Yeah, so good. And he just said it so naturally, because that sounds, when I say it, it sounds really corny. It sounds like a WWE scripted promo, but it just came out so naturally. And him saying that he wants to reconcile with Kenny, he's like, it's all my fault, but I'm just holding out hope that me and Kenny can get back together. I'm just like, oh, I just want to cuddle you. Such a great promo.
It was brilliant. After that, we got Joey Janela and Sonny Kiss taking on Chris Jericho and Jake Hager. This is after the Jericho-Janela match that happened previously. Just another expert way of how AEW are soft resetting everything right now, but still tying up loose ends from the previous week. Just really well done. And it was a no DQ match. Got chairs, got tables, fire extinguishers, fun stuff. Sonny Kiss is really good when he's booked in the right spots. Jericho and Hager win. And they cut a promo saying they're attacked, they're going to go for the tag division.
Yeah. I mean, if you're losing Hangman and Page, replacing it with Jericho and Hager is a good idea. I feel conflicted because I think putting in Jericho and Hager is a great idea. It keeps Jericho important, it keeps him going for some titles without feeling a bit stale, because he's had a long feud with Orange Cassidy now that, as they kept putting over, was 14 weeks of them going back and forth. So it feels like he should do something related to a title now, at least, which makes a lot of sense. But I do wish, though, now that they've gotten rid of Omega and Page as a tag team, it feels like from the amount of people that they've got in their tag division, maybe bringing up someone else like a Jurassic Express, Butcher and Blade, like Best Friends, P&P, like so many tag teams that could potentially get a bigger spotlight. But now I feel like that spotlight's going to go to Jericho and Hager instead, which I feel so conflicted about it because it's a good idea, but also there's other teams that should also have that spotlight at the same time. I don't know. I feel conflicted about it. But as you mentioned before, just real quick, Sonny Kiss is amazing. I thought they were so good in this match.
I agree. I think it's a good idea. Really nice switch up of you're not in the singles division at the moment, so it makes tag team wrestling feel important. But it's now created a landscape where everyone's a heel. I call it NXT, and you've got FTR, Young Bucks, Jericho and Hager now. All those top teams, Santana and Ortiz, like I feel all the Butcher and Blade, all the top contenders are bad guys. Dark Order. So I don't know how that dynamic's going to play, but hey, AEW usually do this stuff right, so I'm sure they've got I'm sure they're aware of that, and they'll juggle some bits around. MJF fired his campaign team because they lost. He went ballistic at the lady he always tells to smile. What a cruel end to that by saying, you stop smiling, your teeth are all rotten and coffee stained. And then Wardlow sort of stood up to him because MJF blamed him for his loss. And MJF was like, you're on my side. Let's refocus on making me win more. But yeah, we get these glimpses of Wardlow dissension occasionally. And this was the biggest one yet.
Yeah, I thought this was another brilliant promo from MJF. I mean, it's not a hot take to say that MJF's an amazing promo, but just the way he portrayed himself, it really felt like a movie boss in that he always felt in control. And even when Wardlow was standing up to him, kind of getting in his face, and he's obviously much taller than MJF was just like laughing and just being like, "Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't realize that we weren't on the same page here. Do we have a problem?" Like he's always like maintaining that he's in control the whole time. It was such a good way to portray his character, and just him just saying like, "Oh yeah, from what I remember, sorry, I'm just going to refresh your memory here. Tony Khan doesn't sign your checks. I do. So I'm going to ask once again, do we have a problem?" And he was like, "No." I was like, "Oh, you're so good, MJF. Oh, love it."
Yeah, he's great. We got the Moxley promo that I talked about earlier. Nothing to really note there. We got the FTR title ceremony. Yay, we're the tag team champions now. Tully Blanchard started to cut a really good promo, and then FTR took that mantle and sort of started putting over the rest of the mid to undercard tag teams that were surrounding the ring to see their champions be properly honored. And that, they put them over. SCU, for instance, I used to love watching you when I was 15. Imagine if we could have gone at it in your prime. Little negs like that. But ultimately, I found this a little bit goofy. For a tag division that's been so seriously presented, this was in danger of veering the wrong side of sports entertainment for me. Jurassic Express eventually get in, sort of have a scuffle, and tip a bucket of ice water over FTR, and then all the baby faces eat cake in the ring.
Yeah. Yeah. Kind of, I agree with that. I was like, this promo is really good. FTR are presented as, we're really good wrestlers. That's what we do. We like wrestling. And then they come out and they get ice water thrown over them by the goofy tag team. And I'm like, but even the goofy tag team haven't been presented as goofy because their wrestling is really legit. Like they're really good wrestlers. That's their thing. But this just the tone didn't feel right. And I feel like that might sound like a nitpick because we could get a very important and really good feud out of this from FTR and Jurassic Express. But the way you set off a feud, the tone needs to be right. And this didn't feel right. It felt a little bit off. So I'm excited for the feud. I think we're going to get some great matches out of it, but it just feels like there was something a little bit off about it.
Yeah. Then we got Ricky Starks came out to do an emo parody of Darby Allin. Very, very funny. Excuse me. So they'll have a feud when Allen's back from his injury, although I thought he wasn't injured, so maybe that's just a kayfabe thing. Tainara Conti is officially signed to AEW. Her first outing was essentially to get squashed by Nyla Rose.
Yep. I mean, the good thing about Ty Conti is that she's 25, so she's got hella time to hopefully be better. When did Nyla Rose and Vicky Guerrero get together as an act?
Oh, this was about a month and a half ago, but it's one of those things that's just been, they haven't done anything since.
That was going to be my next point, is that they joined together a month and a half ago and they haven't been seen since. This is the first televised outing of Vicky Guerrero and Nyla Rose, which is just, I don't get it. Why'd you put them together if you're not going to be on TV? Yeah, and I mean, it was a fun match. Nyla Rose is still really good. Ty Conti is a great seller. It was a fine match. It was good. But it was during this that we got like breaking news. Cody's got an announcement at the end of the show. Oh, and also the Young Bucks have been fined $5,000. And it's like, why are you talking about that? They're literally gearing up to their finish. They're doing their finishing spots now. Why are you talking about other things? Talk about the match. I don't know. Again, sounds like a nitpick, but it's actually really important for how you portray your women's division.
Well, it sends the message that they're not important.
Exactly.
Which is such a shame. I've seen a few people just say there that Tainara Conti wasn't squashed. I guess, yeah, she wasn't like ran over to the extent of a normal squash match, but I said Angelico essentially got squashed by Orange Cassidy earlier. I would say the same offense balance was in place here. And I just, why would you sign someone to have them beaten so quickly to Nyla Rose? And what was going on with Conti and the Dark Order? Why didn't they help?
Can't tell
Look, Shida then runs out to save Conti from a further beatdown, and there's the hint of a feud there that might mean something. They had a great match back at Double or Nothing, and Thunder Rosa is going to return as well. These are all good signs, but I've seen loads of good signs from AEW. You'll forgive me if I'm not going to start getting excited for a renewed push of the women's division, because I've been here so many times before and they haven't walked the walk from the inception of this company, unfortunately. So hopefully, yes.
Yes.
We got the Kenny Omega interview, which was the flip side of the Hangman Page one, and he sat down with JR and didn't cut. I thought he was going to cut like a full-on cartoonish, hyper-stylized, cleaner promo going off the back of the finish of All Out. But no, he sat there and was quite realistic, down to earth, said how he's focused on the tag division, given a year of his career to the tag division. Now he wants to focus on singles stuff.
Yeah, and again, really interesting. And this felt very much like the Hangman promo, felt very normal. Like he was just talking, just kind of getting out his thoughts. And it's such a nice parallel to hear Hangman just say, man, I really blame myself. Really hope I can get back with Kenny, holding out hope that we can be his tag team. And then Kenny just goes, I've done way too much for the tag division. I'm going to go and single stuff. It's just like, it makes you feel for Hangman so much more because he knows he's done wrong and he's just trying to make amends. But Kenny's just having none of it, but he doesn't feel like, even though he's more of a heelish character, he didn't feel like a heel here. It wasn't him just being a dick for no reason. It was him just saying, look, I've put over a year into the tag division and this is what I've got now, that I'm going back to single stuff. I'm sorry I put too much into it. I'm done. And it felt very genuine and legit. You can see his point of view.
Yeah, I'm really excited about the next stage in that story. So I'm just going to bring up Cameron Christie's comment here. It said in Tainara Conti's title card that she was lulling over her decision to join the Dark Order.
Let's see.
Which is all well and good, but the end of the last episode, she was hugging Anna Jay, ecstatic that she was given a contract.
Yeah.
I don't think that's crazy for me to say that. Looks like she signed with them. And the main event was Dustin versus Mr. Brodie Lee, which was a bloody good match.
Yeah, surprisingly good, right? I mean,
not surprisingly, but yeah, it still shocks me that Dustin is so good.
That was the shocking bit, was the offense that Dustin was putting in, Destroyers, Sentons, Hurricane Rana, stuff like that. He's really good. And yeah, it was a really good match. Again, this feels like a nitpick. I feel like Dustin got in too much offense on Brodie from how much that Brodie dominated Cody. And Cody, who is put over pretty much a lot stronger than Dustin, it feels like there was a lot of stuff where Dustin was hitting a lot of offense with almost no resistance from Brodie. Like he was hitting a lot of moves back to back to back to back to back. And like Brodie, like he was able to hit a crossroads quite comfortably onto Brodie. And I feel like it would have worked better. Dustin could still have the same amount of offense, but it could have been interjected with more Brodie comebacks in there to make him feel stronger. It felt like it felt like Dustin got more offense than Brodie, which isn't, I don't think the dynamic there was quite right for me personally. It was still a very fun match, but.
Yeah, really fun match, but overall in the story they're telling,
yes,
it kind of takes a bit of the steam out of the Cody stuff. Because the way Brodie steamrolled through Cody, you kind of want to just have very similar to the Lance Archer story. When Lance steamed through Dustin in the TNT title tournament to get to the finals with Cody. You know, that's an engaging underdog story. But seeing Dustin like get the upper hand so much unassisted, I think it's not a big deal. It's nitpicking. I think there's a better story there because John Silver gets up at one point to interfere. Doesn't work out for him, but that could be having the Dark Order interfering on Brodie's behalf, but that backfiring on Brodie. That would be a better way to further all the stories they're trying to tell and to give Dustin some offense.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It just felt like the balance was a little bit off. But like I said, great match still. Very entertaining. Brodie still won, which is obviously the right choice. And he bullied Colt Cabana after the bell. After Colt came down and was trying to celebrate with him, you know, he was leading the charge, come out, applauding him and stuff. He gets in the ring and Brodie immediately just shoves him aside to be like, no. Because he's still annoyed about what happened at All Out. And again, Evil Uno's the one who kind of walks Colt away and be like, it's okay, don't worry. Yeah, really fun stuff.
Just that way to break someone down, to build them back up again in your own brainwashed cultish image. Fantastic. And also, you know, the big announcement, Pete, that they've been teasing for about half an hour by this point was made. Cody is going to be the host or a co-host or whatever of the Go Big show.
I don't care. I'm sorry, I don't care. Like, to have stuff that's been announced, like I mentioned earlier, during your women's match and to hype it up constantly through the show, it's going to be a big deal for your show that you're portraying. And it wasn't. It was just them saying that Cody's now going to be more mainstream, which massive props to Cody. He's doing really well for himself and being able to get on like a proper mainstream TNT show. That's amazing for him. It's great promotion for AEW. That's great. I have no issue with him doing the show that he's going to do. I have every issue with that being the main event announcement of the show. That doesn't make sense to me. Promote the show that you're doing, not other stuff.
We criticize WWE all the time for this sort of stuff, and AEW did it. I have to think that it's not, like, if it was up to them, they wouldn't have done this. But sometimes you've got a bigger master to serve than your own audience enjoying the wrestling, and that is the network that pays you all the money and extends your deals.
Yes.
So I didn't like it. Cynically, I can see why they made the trade-off. But yeah, it was annoying. And they can't be very wary of shilling. Believe me, I have fallen the wrong side of shilling too much. You'll remember the community posts, people.
Oh, yeah, that we do. I mean, I would have no issue if they had exactly the same announcement anywhere else in the show. Just not the closing angle. Like, it just doesn't make sense to me to put it there. But
yeah, just have a little mini interview with Cody, maybe saying, like, I'm really excited about this. I'm still heating up, to be honest. I've got to take work like this because I don't know. I don't know how you can work it. Maybe they wouldn't want to do it. Anyway, that was the whole show. Overall, I thought it was really, really good. It's so nice to see them. What I like about this show is it makes me so optimistic about the future direction. I'm excited. So I gave it 4 out of 5.
Yeah, I probably agree with that. I feel like a lot of the segments on this show, the promos I thought were really good, especially the Elite stuff, the MJF Mox promos were all really, really good. A lot of the matches, they were really fun to watch. They just have one little gripe that I'd have with each match that would be like, oh, I didn't quite like this finish, or I didn't like, oh, I thought Dustin got a bit too much offense. But overall, it was really fun to watch, and it was a great soft reset from All Out. You can't complain too much on top of that. So yeah, 4 out of 5 for me as well.
Cool. Let's do some Patreon shout-outs before we get on with your super chats. Remember, getting all your super chats before the end of the show. We will read out each and every one of them. But for now, when I can eventually find them, let's do our AEW Dynamite shout-outs for Pledgehammers of $25 a month or more.
Fluid.
Thank you, the incredible Tarzo. Yes.
Woo! Thank you very much. Golden Nick Holden. Woo! Thank you very much.
Yes. Sorry. You get me to tap the gold. Paul Bearer Maslin.
Woo! Thank you very much. The man who wears the gold. The man recognized by SWAF Nation International as the 24/7 champion. Our legend. Woo!
Thank you. The old codger dodger Roger. The old codger dodgy Roger.
There we go. Whee! Thank you. Intense Frank Campos. Woo!
Thank you, Frank. Thank you. The redneck Dennis Hicks.
Woo! Thank you very much. Michael Plowman, that's his name. That name again. Michael Plowman. Woo!
You're featured on the podcast today. I sing a song of his. The power couple, Stephen and Giovanna. Thank you so much, Stephen and Giovanna.
Much. Pick him up, Loot Sponge. Woo!
Yes. My Immortal is my favorite song, Mashy.
Woo! Thank you very much. And finally for today, Dive, Dylan Cachetta. Woo!
Thank you very much, everyone, for your continued support. We appreciate it so much. Money! Right, speaking of money, let's get on with all your super chats. Nate drops surname. He is Miro. Very excited to have him in AEW, the next TNT champion. How great would him versus Brodie be? Chopper, how happy are you to see Smooth Adam?
Oh, I talk about me and Smooth Adam on the podcast version of this. Short answer, very happy. Miro versus Brodie would be great. I'll be well into that.
Andre Banks. I'm happy Miro is in AEW, but not excited about him in AEW yet. That's a very good way of describing it. The best man stuff could have worked for me if it was built up a couple of weeks.
That's fair.
Yeah. Charlie Davis, Kenny had these weird 1,000-yard stares before and kind of during his interview. I'm convinced something darker is still there. I definitely agree. Yeah, a heel turn is on the horizon in full-fledged cleaner mode. Like, if this is him teasing, if this is him in subtle heel mode, think about the full version. Yeah. Gorilla Press, Dustin continues to give us great in-ring work. I've never doubted Dustin. Since his debut as Goldust, he's been amongst the top of my big man technical wrestling list.
For sure, yeah. And it's easy to forget how bloody big he is. He's massive.
Yeah, same size, really. Same height as Brodie. Charlie Davis again. I love the show. I love the slow burn Kenny and Hangman story even more after last night. Heartbreaking that Adam thinks he and Kenny can get back together, but Kenny is done. It's a very real breakup dynamic.
Absolutely. Yeah, so good.
Rich McCann, a great sign of a roster is one you see Jungle Boy and you say, man, he's my favorite. Then you see Jericho. Nope, he is. Then Brodie. No, I love him. There's so much character depth there. Rich McCann again. With the Bucks being heel, who are the top card faces? Mox, Page. I don't know who else.
Jurassic Express. Orange Cassidy.
Jungle Boy. Orange Cassidy is a big, he's pushed as the selling name. Darby Allin. Yeah. El Fermentado. Is Jericho aware that Santana and Ortiz are in the tag team ratings? Are the Inner Circle breaking up eventually? Also, I'm so happy for Miro. Jam that jam.
I am as well, yes. Maybe we'll get a Santana and Ortiz versus Jericho and Hager match at some point.
It's such a shame because I love Santana and Ortiz. Their work as LAX was phenomenal. And this to me signals that they're not going to get back in that mix. Yeah. Black Adam. Finally, a Canadian destroyer ended a match. I screamed. Also, Dustin needs to stop using them. He just does as a transition move after a jab. Stop.
I brought this up before. It's just a move. this point, it's just a move, which I don't like. But
people used to say the same about the DDT. The super
I
kick.
know. I'm being an old man. I'm aware of that, but I will take pride in being an old man.
Corporate cornet over there. Christopher Jazzcat, forget Vince for a sec. Mr. Brodie's character makes total sense without viewing it through that lens. That's the litmus test for such angles for me. I totally agree. If it was just a Vince parody, wouldn't work. But Brodie's created a three-dimensional, living, breathing person there, separate to Vince. So, yeah, definitely. Sawyer, Kenny versus Moxley at Full Gear, exactly 1 year after Omega Moxley won. Fuel for a title change story.
Genuinely, after we spoke about earlier, just saying like, oh, I don't know who he's going to face if he's not facing Archer at Full Gear. I saw that super chat come in and I was like, God, that's a good idea. I really want Kenny to turn full cleaner heel. First proper match afterwards is against Moxley for the AEW title and he wins. I think that would be amazing.
So much history there as well.
Exactly,
Double or Nothing debut. Nate drops surname. They can tell the story of, unlike Kenny Page, Jericho Hager can't hang in the tag division, put over other teams. In a circle breakup begins.
I think I like all of that bar the last sentence. I think having the story of Jericho Hager not hanging in the tag division is a great story to tell. I think that's really good. You don't have to have the inner circle breaking up from it, but that story in and of itself is really good.
Or maybe Jericho needs Sammy.
Yeah.
That's always seemed to me to be the more father-son team there, the closest two of the inner circle, apart from Santana and Ortiz, of course. Gorilla Press, Tainara Conti surprisingly got some good offense in. A decent first outing. He has risen. Today is the day. Speaking of this gimmick that keeps... I don't know what's going on. Gorilla Press again.
Not a clue.
Dynamite was better than All Out. Soft reset. Great soft reset, Tony. He's such a natural at delivering fantastic content.
Yeah, it was a very good show.
I preferred All Out more. I thought All Out was really good, beside the Matt Hardy stuff. Jose Vasquez. Hey, guys, who do you think is going to be in the first triple threat for the AEW title, or should be?
That's a hard question. I'd love it if... This is total fantasy booking now off the top of my head. If we did get to a point where it was Kenny and Moxley, and then you had Kenny and Hangman and Mox in a triple threat, I think that'd be really fun.
See, off of this episode, Moxley, Jericho, and MJF.
Yeah, that would also be very good.
The Zornice. AEW commentary always talks a lot during matches. Not everybody should win their first match. Boring. Tainara showed guts and craft. I like the show. I'm glad you got something out of the debuts on East. Unfortunately, I just thought it seemed like it's someone who got beaten. She just got signed. Yeah, I didn't see anything in it, unfortunately. Sawyer, you understate how commentary sold the Bucks super kick. They were clearly shocked and confused, and Excalibur talked up how he's seen them go to this dark place before and what a dark omen that could be.
Yeah, they did say that. They didn't sound very shocked, though. I think they were just like, whoa, they're going to that dark place. All right, here's the next match. And it was that they should have played it up more, being like, whoa, what's going on here? Like, you know.
Where's the concern for Marvez?
Yeah. It was them.
Anyone worried about him?
If they'd have done that to another wrestler, I can understand that reaction of them just being like, oh, man. That seems a bit harsh, Buck's going to that dark place. But they just super kicked a random dude. Like, play it up, man. I don't know.
Black Adam, I'm with Chopper. A goddamn flipping pile driver should be a finish. Even P.T. Williams apologized for making it because it's so common now.
Yeah. I mean, it's a good move. I love the move. Just
move.
Stop using it as a random move that's a transitional thing.
A hot tag to you.
Yeah, there's some AEW related super chats now. Nothing worse than dry chicken, says AEW brilliant. Not at the constant jibes about WWE. We watch AEW to switch into something different, so I don't need to be reminded about another show.
Yeah, I agree. It's gone on a bit stale by this point. Yeah,
totally. Especially when we've seen other people show up and do the same thing on Impact as well. It just feels like a lot of other people doing the same thing similarly right now. But
I think the Shoot podcast has killed this kind of promo.
You're not wrong.
It will never be as good as a 3-hour sit down of all the stuff.
Yeah, I blame Moxley for that then. It's all his fault. Him and Punk ruined it. Christopher Jazzcat says, New Japan is better than AEW, which you'd know if you actually covered it. Ooh, the shade. But Hangman Kenny, the Bucks, FTR is still the best story in wrestling.
Well, you're in for a treat, Jazzcat, because the plan is to do some live streaming on Wrestle 2 of the G1 Climax tournament. I think just exclusively Block A, because that is insane.
It's genuinely absurd how much talent is in Block A. It's crazy. WrestleTalk related super chats now. Gorilla Press again says, as for you, Oliver, today you will be addressed by B is himself. Don't be afraid. Be intrigued. He is risen. Still don't know
very
what's going
confused.
On. No idea. Joshua Law, Mr. WrestleTalk is awesome. Can I get a yes, please?
I don't see why not. Yes, please, Mr. WrestleTalk. Seems like a great guy.
Okay. Michael Dominguez says, if Chopper's storyline is only a 3-week push, I'm LMAO.
What's a storyline?
I don't know what you mean about storyline there, and I haven't got a 3-week push because I'm Mr. Davis's best friend. So, Words from Will says, doesn't Vacant own the Quizzlemania tag title since you fired Luke? Also, hashtag I want the sexy jacket back.
This jacket's perfectly fine. And no, yeah, Luke's fired, which means I am the Quizzlemania tag team champions.
That's exactly how that works. Dale D said, Mr. Davis, you might want to give Mr. WrestleTalk a firing-proof contract so no one can legally fire him. You never know when someone like SRS might hack your system and get your new BFF fired. Wait, new BFF?
Yes, well, I think so. I don't want to get ahead of myself, but I just, at the end of the stream, before I left, we were just talking. I said, oh, are we best friends? I feel like we're best friends right now. And he said, I don't see why not. So yeah, I guess I am best friends with him.
Neil A said, will Luke be showing up on WrestleTalk Underground?
No. He's fired.
Mark Egan said, Mr. WrestleTalk clarified to us yesterday that he's not Luke Owen. There's nothing to worry about, Chopper. Looking forward to his WrestleTalk debut.
Yeah, so that'll be Raw, next week's Raw podcast. Mr. WrestleTalk and Mr. Davis, best friends.
The Age of Me said, I'm glad WrestleTalk has gone professional. Me too. Yeah,
looks smarter, doesn't it? Looks smarter.
Authority.
Especially when you can't see the shorts. The jogging shorts I'm wearing.
Yeah, same. Gorilla Press again said, the depths have opened. Hashtag press that press. Still have no idea what's going on, man. And one last minute super chat said, from KJ Trademark said, what's up? Love your content. Keep it up. Fire emoji, 100 emoji, fire emoji.
Because that's how we live our lives. We are, me and Pete, the fire emojis and the keeping it 100 emojis. I am your Jam That Champion. This has been Chopper Pete Quinnell, Mr. Chopper Pete Quinnell to you guys. And go over and watch all the other WrestleTalk stuff that's gone up to date. Watch my WrestleTalk review, the WrestleTalk news thing where Rusev has debuted. We've kind of talked about that already, but there's other stuff like Nia Jax being very unhappy with the company airbrushing her face for some graphics. Also, go over to Quizzlemania on Parts Unknown and watch the debut of Mr. WrestleTalk. What a guy. Can't wait to be tagging with him next week. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. We'll have NXT was yesterday. We'll have a WrestleTalk podcast and a WrestleTalk news up tomorrow with Chopper. But for now, I've been Mr. Davis. You Jam That Champion.
Jam That Champion.
Oh, and Pete.
Join the All Authority, etc.